Imagine stepping out of your front door on a bright Tuesday morning, dressed for a job interview that could change your life. You've picked out your best outfit, you've checked your hair in the mirror, and you have that nervous but excited energy of a fresh start. You tell your family you'll see them later, hop into your car, and drive away. But as the hours turn into days, and those days turn into weeks, the seat at the dinner table stays empty. This isn't the plot of a psychological thriller, this is the chilling reality of what happened to Regan Ware. In June 2023, this 34-year-old Maryland woman vanished into thin air, and the only clues she left behind were captured on cold, silent surveillance cameras. Welcome back to the Crime Chapter, where we pull back the curtain on the cases that the world tried to forget. Today, we're diving deep into a disappearance that feels like it could happen to anyone, anywhere. Before we break down the timeline of Regan's final known moments, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep these stories alive and brings us closer to finding the truth for families who are still waiting for answers. Regan Ware was a woman with deep roots in her community and a family that absolutely adored her. To those who knew her best, she was the kind of person who always had a plan, which is why what happened on June 6, 2023, makes so little sense. That morning, Regan left her home in the 5500 block of Sinclair Lane in Baltimore. She was heading out for a job interview, a routine part of adult life that millions of us do every single day. She was dressed in a light blue top and blue jeans, looking professional and ready to make a good impression. Surveillance footage from her own apartment building captured her leaving. It shows her walking toward her car, a 2017 Honda Accord. Everything looks normal. There's no sign of a struggle, no mysterious figure lurking in the shadows, just a woman going about her business. But that short walk from her door to her car would be the last time her loved ones would ever see her. When Regan didn't return home that evening, the initial feeling wasn't panic, it was confusion. Maybe the interview ran long. Maybe she met a friend for a celebratory drink. But as the sun went down and her phone continued to go straight to voicemail, that confusion curdled into a cold, sharp fear. Regan wasn't the type to just disappear. She didn't have a history of running away, and she was incredibly close with her family. By the next morning, they knew something was horribly wrong. They contacted the Baltimore Police Department, and the search for Regan Ware officially began. At first, investigators looked at the obvious, the route to her interview, but they quickly hit a massive roadblock. The job interview she was supposed to attend? It turns out, there's a lot of mystery surrounding where exactly she was going. As the police started digging, they found the first major piece of the puzzle, and it only made the case more disturbing. On June 7th, just one day after she was last seen, her 2017 Honda Accord was discovered. But it wasn't near a corporate office or a business district where you'd expect someone to go for an interview. Her car was found abandoned in the 400 block of North Caroline Street in East Baltimore. This location was miles away from where she lived and seemingly had no connection to her daily life. When detectives processed the vehicle, they didn't find any immediate signs of a violent struggle inside, but the car was just sitting there. It was as if she had parked it, stepped out, and been swallowed by the city. This discovery changed the entire tone of the investigation. If the car was found in a place she didn't frequent, was she even the one who drove it there? This is where the surveillance footage from the surrounding buildings becomes the most critical and frustrating part of the story. Investigators began pulling every frame of video they could find from the East Baltimore area. They were looking for any glimpse of Regan or her Honda Accord. The The Crime Chapter team has looked into many cases where technology provides the answer, but in Regan's case, the cameras only raised more questions. The footage showed the car being parked, but the quality of the video and the angles made it incredibly difficult to confirm who was behind the wheel. Was it Regan, perhaps lost or meeting someone she hadn't told her family about? Or was it someone else entirely, disposing of the vehicle after something happened to her? The lack of clarity in these recordings is a haunting reminder of how someone can be caught on camera and still remain a mystery. While the police were analyzing pixels on a screen, Regan's family was on the ground. They weren't waiting for the evening news to give them updates. They were out there themselves. They organized search parties, handed out thousands of flyers, and walked the streets where her car was found, begging anyone for information. They described Regan as a responsible, vibrant woman who would never leave her life behind voluntarily. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the Maryland community. How does a woman disappear in broad daylight while driving to a professional appointment? As we look closer at the details, we have to ask, was there someone in Regan's life who knew more than they were letting on? Or did she simply cross paths with the wrong person at the most vulnerable moment? At this point in the investigation, rumors began to swirl, as they often do in high-profile missing persons cases. People started speculating about the nature of the job interview. Was it a legitimate offer from an established company? Or was it something she found online that might have been a trap? We see this far too often in modern true crime predators using the promise of employment to lure unsuspecting victims into dangerous situations. If you're watching this right now, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think it's possible that the job interview was a setup, or do you believe something happened to her spontaneously while she was in transit? Your theories and engagement help keep this video in the algorithm, which means more eyes on Regan's face and a better chance of someone coming forward with the truth. Also, don't forget to share this video on social media. You never know who might see it, and remember a small detail from that day in June. As the days turned into weeks, the lead detective on the case admitted that they were hitting dead ends. They had searched the car for DNA, checked her cell phone records for pings, and interviewed everyone in her inner circle. Her phone had gone dark shortly after she left her house, meaning they couldn't track her movements using GPS. It was as if she had intentionally turned it off, or someone else had ensured she couldn't be tracked. This silence is the most agonizing part for a family. It's the not knowing that keeps you up at night. The Baltimore Police Department officially classified her as a missing vulnerable adult, a term that added even more urgency to the search. But despite the labels and the police files, the trail was growing colder by the minute. One of the most chilling aspects of the Regan Ware case is the area where her car was found. East Baltimore has its challenges, and the 400 block of North Carolina Street isn't exactly a place where you'd park a car and leave it overnight if you intended to come back for it. Why was the car there? Did she have a secret life, or was she forced to drive to that location? Some investigators suggested that maybe she was carjacked, but if that were the case, why would the carjacker leave a perfectly good 2017 Honda Accord sitting on the street instead of selling it or stripping it for parts? The car being left behind suggests that the vehicle wasn't the goal Regan was. Every time a car is found abandoned like this, it points toward a much darker conclusion, one that her family was desperately trying to avoid. The abandoned car in East Baltimore wasn't just a piece of evidence. It was a psychological blow to everyone holding out hope. When you find a vehicle left behind like that, the questions start to multiply faster than the answers. If Regan had been in an accident, there would be debris. If she had been carjacked for the vehicle itself, the car would be gone. The fact that the car was sitting there, silent and empty, felt like a deliberate message. As the investigation pushed into the second week, detectives began to scrutinize Regan's digital footprint with even more intensity. In today's world, we leave a trail of breadcrumbs everywhere: browser histories, social media logins, and banking transactions. But Regan's trail seemed to stop abruptly. There were no weird bank withdrawals, no cryptic social media posts, and most importantly, no outgoing calls that suggested she was in distress or meeting someone new. It was as if the person she was on June 6th simply ceased to exist the moment she stepped out of the frame of those apartment cameras, while the police were stuck behind desks and computer screens. The Baltimore community was refusing to let Regan be forgotten. Her family, led by her sister and her closest friends, were becoming their own private investigators. They knew Regan better than any detective ever could. They knew her habits, her voice, and her fears. They began to question the job interview angle even more. Had she mentioned a specific company name? Was there an email or a text message confirming the time? In many missing persons cases, we find that the appointment was a phantom something used as a cover story or a trap set by someone the victim trusted. The crime chapter has seen this pattern before, where the very thing that takes a person away is the thing they were most excited about. If you've ever felt like a job offer or an online interaction was too good to be true, let this be a reminder to always stay vigilant. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, please drop a comment below with the word justice. It really helps us push these cases to a wider audience so more people can see Regan's face. As the months passed, the silence from the Baltimore Police Department became deafening for the Ware family. They started to feel a frustration that many families of missing African American women experience, the feeling that their loved one's case isn't getting the same national media frenzy as others. They held rallies outside police headquarters, demanding more transparency. They wanted to know about the DNA results from the car. They wanted to know if any fingerprints were found that didn't belong to Regan. But the police remained tight-lipped, citing the ongoing investigation. This lack of information creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, conspiracy theories start to grow. Was Regan a victim of a random crime of opportunity in a city known for its high crime rates? Or was this something deeply personal, orchestrated by someone who knew her schedule and her desire for a new career path? One of the most heart-wrenching aspects of this case is the impact on Regan's children. She wasn't just a name in a police file, she was a mother. Her disappearance didn't just leave a hole in a family tree, it left a void in the lives of children who don't understand why their mom hasn't come home from an interview that happened months ago. This is the human cost of true crime that we often overlook while analyzing footage and maps. The family has continued to keep her social media pages active, posting memories and photos, hoping that maybe, just maybe, Regan is out there somewhere and we'll see them. They haven't given up, and that's why we're telling this story today. Awareness is the only weapon we have against the passage of time. The more people who know about Regan Ware, the harder it is for her case to be pushed to the bottom of a cold case pile. Around the 6-month mark, a few tips started to trickle in. Some people claim to have seen a woman matching Regan's description in different parts of Maryland, sometimes looking disoriented. Each tip was a roller coaster of emotion for the family. They would rush to the locations, show her picture to shopkeepers, and walk the streets, only to find out it was a case of mistaken identity. These sightings are common in high-profile cases, but they take a massive toll on the mental health of the loved ones left behind. Every time the phone rings, there's a split second of hope that this is the call that ends the nightmare. followed by the crushing weight of reality when it isn't. Investigators have looked into these leads, but none have provided that smoking gun piece of evidence needed to crack the case wide open. Let's talk about the surveillance footage one more time. In the age of Ring doorbells and citywide CCTV, it's becoming harder and harder to truly disappear. So, how did Regan manage it? Some experts suggest that if she was intercepted shortly after leaving her home, her car could have been driven to North Caroline Street by someone who knew exactly where the camera blind spots were. This would imply a level of planning that goes beyond a random street crime. It suggests someone who was familiar with the area, or perhaps someone who had scouted the location beforehand. This brings us back to the most chilling possibility, that Regan was targeted. If you have any information about what happened in East Baltimore on the morning of June 6th or 7th, 2023, no matter how small you think it is, please reach out to the Baltimore Police Department or contact her family through their official Find Regan Ware social media pages. As we approach the end of today's deep dive, the status of Regan Ware remains missing. Her case hasn't been closed, but it hasn't been solved either. Her family is still out there, still fighting, and still waiting for the day they can bring her home. Stories like these remind us that life can change in the span of a single morning. One minute you're getting ready for an interview, and the next, you're the subject of a nationwide search. It's a sobering thought, but it's one that drives us here at the Crime Chapter to keep sharing these narratives. We want to thank you for sticking with us through this journey into Regan's disappearance. Your watch time and your engagement truly make a difference in keeping these names in the public consciousness. Before you go, please make sure you've shared this video. A simple share on your Facebook or Twitter could be the reason someone who knows something finally decides to speak up. Whether it's a neighbor who saw a strange car, or someone who was in East Baltimore that day, every detail matters. We'll be sure to update you the very second there's a breakthrough in this case. Until then, keep your eyes open, stay safe, and remember that every story deserves an ending. This is the Crime Chapter, signing off. We'll see you in the next one where we continue to seek the truth, one case at a time.